Hey everyone, it's Jessica Michaels here with another layout for Shimmerz Paints design team, and I am using this sketch today by my good friend Sarah Scrap, so thank you so much for the inspiration. And I'm just going to prep some white textured cardstock here with some clear gesso by Finnabair. So I'm just using a smaller spatula to actually scoop it out of the pot, and then I'm going to use my bigger spatula here that you can see it's kind of flat, like a silicone spatula that I got from Amazon, and it's my favorite tool to use to smear on all of this gesso, and it just makes for a really nice smooth coverage. So I'm just smudging all of this across my page. Of course, I have a dog now, so I have one lone dog hair in that gesso, right? That seems like it always happens whenever you have a dog, and I'm not used to that because we have gone without a dog for so long, but now that we have a dog again, I guess that's going to be my life now. So I have grabbed a few of the Shimmerz products, and I'm starting out with the darker one at the top that's called Deep Blue Sea. That one's in a Vibes spray bottle, and then another Vibes, that other blue color in the middle there, or towards the bottom right now, is called Jenni Be Blue. And then I'm going to pull in another product that is one of the Shimmerz brand. So it's going to be that flat one in the little pot, and it is called Slow Ocean. So you can see here I'm just kind of creating like an ombre effect, and I'm kind of trying to keep the darker color towards the corner of this layout. Sarah's sketch had some squares on it, and both corners were covered, so that's really what I'm working with. I'm just kind of spritzing some water on here, just making some water splatters on there just to break up the color a little bit and create a little bit of a marble effect. And then I'm just physically picking up my paper and turning it this way and that way, just getting all of those colors to blend together a little bit. I do want some separation of the colors. I don't want them fully blended because I want to be able to see that there's different colors in this, but I also wanted them to be blended together a little bit. So that last color there that I was putting on is that Slow Ocean color in the Shimmerz. The difference between the products is the Shimmerz pots in those little pot colors are going to be very, very sparkly and shimmery, whereas the Vibes, the colorings, things like that are going to be less sparkle. So if you want something more pigmented, I would definitely go with the Vibes as I've gone with here. But as I'm blending these colors together, I'm going to get some of that sparkle throughout all of these colors, and I'm just dabbing up any large pools of color. That way it doesn't completely soak through my paper, which that's what that gesso at the beginning really helps with. Is I always prep my mixed media layouts with gesso because it really helps your paper be able to hold up to all of these wet mediums and have less warping, and also helps those colors be able to blend together. That step there that I just did was just some white acrylic paint that I had just watered down a little bit and then just flicked on with my paintbrush to create some white splatters, which just helps break up that color a little bit. And I have my square punch that I'm bringing out now. I'm just going to let this dry. I'm going to add some more splatters here to finish that off at the end, but I'll do that here in a minute. For right now, I'm just going to let this dry a little bit and start working on my photo. I'm just going to back it with some white cardstock here, and then I am going to back it again with one of these pattern papers from the Little Builder collection by Echo Park. That's what I'm going to be working with today. And I just grabbed some scraps that I had, and then I grabbed the small paper pad, and I'm going to punch out a whole bunch of squares. This is actually a scrap from another layout that I have already done, and I'm just cutting some small squares with my square punch by Creative Memories. It's been in my stash for a long time, but it's such a good punch, and I haven't used it for a while, so I am just going to bust that out. I'm going to grab this small 6x6 paper pad from that collection and a whole bunch of patterned papers and just start cutting a whole bunch of those squares out, and then I'm just roughing up the edges with my fingernails and then physically crinkling them in my hands so that they create this kind of really roughed up square look, as you can see. You can see my mixed media portion is pretty dry at this point. I did hit it with my heat gun a little bit just to finish it from drying there. And I kind of went off of the back side when I was using my heat tool. That helped it kind of dry up any moisture that was stuck in that paper. And then you can see I'm sticking closely to Sarah's sketch design and just layering these squares up here in the corner. I am covering some of that beautiful mixed media, but it's still going to peek through here, so no big deal. I'm also going to add some machine stitching here in a bit after I get all of these glued down, and I am just using some of my Deluxe Nouveau adhesive to actually glue down my squares. It's a really nice glue whenever you're working with mixed media like this, because sometimes it's hard to find adhesives that will stick to mixed media, and sometimes it's just a little bit difficult. So I found that Nouveau adhesive does stick very nicely to mixed media, and that's kind of my preferred glue when I'm working with the Shimmerz paints. So I am just working from the back side here. At this point, you can see that I've done my machine stitching, and I was just messy about it, nothing crazy or fancy, just some very basic stitches, and I just kind of went back and forth and made some lines and zigzags and different things. I am going to bring in that white acrylic paint again here and do some more white splatters on top of all of these squares, because it just really helps pull this all together and blend this in a little bit and just kind of break up my squares and just kind of put some more mixed media on top. And then I've grabbed this orange color. This is called Punkin Pie. It's in a Vibes. It's in that little spray bottle. I just flick it on the same way as a paintbrush just by undoing the nozzle, and then it creates some nice splatters that way. I've grabbed a little die from my stash here by Hey Little Magpie. It looks like a little torn tablet, and I just used one of my scraps again from this collection and just cut it in yellow to go alongside my photo. And then I'm grabbing some of the ephemera from the little packs from this collection to layer around my photo. I'm actually going to take this bottom tag and cut it in half so that I can use the bottom and the top, so it just kind of looks like it's running the whole way behind my photo. And then towards the end of this video, I'll grab some twine and put through the top of that tag. So that's a really good way to use up larger embellishments, is to just chop them in half, and then you can use them on both sides of photos or around different elements like borders and things like that. You can tuck them in different places in your layouts or in your projects, and it's just a good way to use up those larger ones. So I'm going to use this one as my title. I love this little sticker in this phrase. It says "play all day," and it's just perfect for my little guy here. We went to a park, and of course, the first place he goes isn't the swings or the slides. He immediately gets his toys out of the car and goes to the sandbox, which is perfectly fine, but he is definitely all boy. And he is now 7 at this point, and he is still all boy. It's so much so that he doesn't particularly like school. He would much rather be outside playing in the dirt or at our farm. So that has not changed for him, and this layout is just perfectly boy themed for him, and I just love how this is coming together. I've used some little flair. These are some canvas flair icons by Peartree Cutfiles. They've been in my stash for quite some time, so I'm really happy that I'm getting to use up some of this stash, which is something I desperately need to do. I am like flooded in supplies over here, which is not a bad thing. I am not complaining, but I know that I need to use some of this stuff because it's just getting crazy over here in my scrap room. So I'm just layering up these embellishments. I'm going to finish gluing down a few more things over here in this corner, using some thread behind those canvas flare elements, and just pulling a bunch of things off of this sticker sheet to just layer around my photos, like this little work zone sign and just some little bits and pieces like these cones. And I'm going to actually grab some of my little metal gears that I have in my stash too. I think they're by Uniquely Creative, if I remember right. But I have some of those that I think are going to look really great on this layout as well. So I'm going to grab some of those and glue on here too, and just finish sticking down all of these cute little boy elements and just make it look like a real fun work zone for him, because he was just having a blast playing in this sandbox. So here's those little gears. I am going to use the same Nouveau glue on this. It does typically hold these gears down pretty well. You just have to make sure that you just apply some pressure for a little while just so that they actually adhere. It does dry pretty quick, but I still have to hold them down or set something on top of these just to hold them in place while that glue is drying. And then I'm just scattering them about. I love how this mixed media came together, and I love the little pops of orange color thrown in there as well. I was originally going to add some gold, but I really, really liked the way that it looked just like this. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to stop there with the mixed media. I'm not going to add anything else. And then here's my date stamp coming in. This is my new date stamp that I just got from a Cherry on Top shop. So I'll link that down below for you, as well as all of the Shimmerz paints that I'm using today. So you can grab any of those from the shop. If you do place an order over at shimmerzpaints.com, make sure you use my name in the notes section of your order, because then you'll get a free gift along with your Shimmerz paints order. So it's always a really good gift too. Nothing that's been like sitting on the shelf forever or anything like that. It's always something that's really good. So I'm just finishing this up with some wax twine and just stapling the top of that down and then gluing down my tails with some Nouveau glue. And then here's the finished layout. I absolutely love how this one came together, and I had so much fun creating it for you guys to see. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I've inspired you to create something using some mixed media from Shimmerz paints. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thank you so much, guys, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.